away we go. Hello, and welcome to another episode of That Made Your List, a weekly podcast where an average, ordinary film fan, me, interviews other average, ordinary film fans. My name is Dave Gudger, and joining me in the hot seat this week is the co-host of the Best Damn Movie Show podcast and the host of the Top 5 Weekly Show, according to his Facebook profile. Hello, Dan Skip Allen.
Hey, how's it going, Dave?
I'm very well, thank you very much. Well, thanks for joining me this week. Before we get started with your questions, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been a film fan since I was about 5 or 6 years old. Been watching movies for quite a long time, going on about 35 years now. I watch about 200 movies a year. I try to see everything I can as much as I can. This 2017, one of the best years. I mean, I saw over 155, 160 movies. But 2018 is going to be a better year. I'm going to see probably, goal is to see close to 300 films this year.
Wow.
Going to start doing a lot better with the foreign films and the real artsy indie films. So I've been doing this for quite a while. I've been doing podcasts. I have my show, the 52 must-see movies and why they matter. And I just get other people that want to talk about movies that have a real passion for movies, like yourself, Dave. Yeah. And we just discuss like one classic movie that's considered like essential, or it's essential in some people's minds.
Yes.
And we got 3 episodes left of season 1. I'm going on. April, we're going to be doing season 2. So I got a group of people that are going to be going on season 2, and I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, and I live now in Florida. Okay. And of course, I'm a huge sports fan: Red Sox, Patriots, Celtics, Bruins, and obviously, we talked a little bit. We're soccer fans as well.
Yeah, we won't mention that bit.
I call it soccer.
Yeah, we'll let you off that one. Okay, brilliant. So let's make a start with this then. We'll start off with the big one of the sometimes the most difficult one for people. What's your favourite film?
Well, I've been a film fan for a long, long time. I've seen everything you can think of, going back to the very first Oscar-winning film, Wings. But my favorite film is Casablanca. Okay. I watch it every year, once or twice a year. I see something new in that film every single year. Yep. Every time I see it, Dave, I always see something new in it. That's why it's an amazing film to me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's as I say, it's not the first time it's put up on people's lists. It's popped up on favourite classic before. I think it's the first time someone's had it as their favourite film. But no, an essential viewing film. Someone that if they like films, that they should watch it. Absolutely.
Yeah, it has a lot of heart. It's got romance. It's got intrigue. If you're a fan of films such as Star Wars, guess what? Star Wars Mos Eisley Cantina scene was filmed on the set of Rick's Cafe American.
Oh, wow.
From Casablanca. George Lucas was a huge fan of Casablanca, and a lot of great. There's books written. Roger Ebert wrote a book about it. A Kiss is Still a Kiss. That tells you how much Roger Ebert, who's a huge hero of mine growing up as a kid, is a fan of it as well. So I recommend all people that love movies. Just because it's black and white, just because it came out in 1943, don't shy away from these films, because there's so much that they did that you don't see people doing today, because you have visual effects and you have color and you have all these different things today that they didn't have back then. So they really had to work on the script and the acting and things that were going on in the background and the music. And there's so many great things about that film. Claude Rains is amazing, and Dooley Wilson, the piano player. I mean, go on and on about Casablanca.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Obviously, I mean, as I've mentioned before on a couple of the other ones, it's one of the most misquoted films, with that "play it, Sam, play it again," rather than "play it again, Sam," the line that never appears in the film.
Yeah, play it, Sam, play it. as time goes by. That's the quote in the not play it against Sam.
No, it's
and of course six of AFI's 100 greatest quotes of all time are from Casablanca. That's how amazing this film is. Round up the usual suspects. It just we'll always have Paris. So many great lines from the movie, and maybe it's just me. Maybe it's my age. I don't know, but I just love that movie so much. Maybe I'm kind of a hopeless romantic too, because you want the guy to end up with the girl, and of course, if you've seen the movie, he doesn't.
Spoiler alert for a 75-year-old film. No, it's really good. It's one of the things that it popped up during about this is in the early 2000s, Madonna tried to get this remade with her and Ashton Kutcher as the two leads.
Oh no! Oh, thank God!
Fortunately, she went to every single studio, and every single one said no, and one of them turned around saying, "This is one film that should never ever be touched by anyone for a remake."
Never. You see
in films it's one of those holy grail films that is just perfect. It is. It doesn't need remaking, especially not with Madonna.
Oh my God, that would have been awful. They're remaking Ben-Hur and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner and all these other. I'm like, why are they taking these great movies? And I know there's podcasters and pundits out there that say, well, we don't mind them remaking these films because you always have the original. Yeah, you're right. That if you think like that, sure, you do always have the original. RoboCop, they remade it in some of these films. But no, you don't even lay a finger on Casablanca.
No, absolutely. Okay, brilliant, a great start. So, on to the next one. What is the last film you watched? Obviously, it's going to change daily then, I'd imagine, for you.
Yeah, it was going. I was actually going to see before the show, but because we moved the show up today, I was going to go see the new Wallace and Gromit film Early Man today because I'm a little bit behind. But I ended up did not go see that. I'm going to see it after the podcast. So the last film I saw was Annihilation, starring Natalie Portman and from the creator of Ex Machina.
Yes, I've heard about it. I've not seen it yet. It's a weird one. It's only got a US theatrical release, hasn't it? And then Netflix has got all the international rights. Yeah,
they do. I'll tell you what. I could see why it's on a Netflix on international, but I think there was enough there, in my opinion, to where you should have gotten a regular release for it because it's very intriguing film. The cast: Tessa Thompson, Gina Rodriguez, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and Natalie Portman all give really good performances. And the thing is, it tells a lot about life and how life changes and how, let's say, an alien being or an alien race or whatever doesn't know what they're doing. They're coming down, they're saying, okay, we need to terraform this planet to make it our own planet or whatever. And it's got interesting how other races and other beings in outer space or so forth determine how they're going to go about doing things for themselves. And it's different for us because we're like, well, this isn't normal. You don't just come down here and you do that. And so there's a lot of exploring of the human being, the human nature and the person within the person and so forth. And Oscar Isaac's in it as well. And Alex Garland is the director, and he did Ex Machina. Well, anybody who's seen Ex Machina,
loved Ex Machina.
I don't know what I can't beg you to go see Annihilation, but I really think it's an intriguing film for everybody to see because it tells a lot about human nature from a different perspective, from somebody else's perspective, and a different alien race's perspective and so forth. So, and I'll tell you what, I liked it. I'm always forward to seeing new filmmakers when they put out that one film that everybody's like raving about, and then they do the second and the third and so forth.
Yeah.
And we'll see what they come up with. And this year, we got a lot of that this year. We got a lot of those filmmakers that had one or two films, now their third or fourth filmers coming out.
Yeah.
We're going to have a great year for those young new filmmakers.
Yeah, it's like Ryan Coogler, obviously, with massive hit now with Black Panther on his hands, but he was one, he's swung for the fences and hit with his first three. His Fruitville Station, obviously then Creed, and now Black Panther. He's actually knocked out of the park with each one of these new ones, so some good new filmmakers coming through.
Yeah, absolutely. We got Steve McQueen coming out with another film. We got Damien Chazelle later on with another film. Yeah. Nicholas Winding Refn again. So we got a lot of great filmmakers that are just coming on the scene the last 4 or 5 years. And I like to see what the film industry is like in 10 years with all these younger filmmakers when the Scorseses and the Coppolas and the Spielbergs are hanging it up and the Finchers and everybody, and see what the landscape of film is in about 10 years.
Who's going to take the mantle of being? Well, it's always going to be there as a title said. Who's going to be the next Spielberg? Who's going to be the next Coppola? Who's going to need the next Scorsese? It's going to be almost an anchor to drag them down sometimes, I imagine, once it's pinned on them. But if they can rise to the challenge, then it only makes it better for everyone else that loves watching the films. Okay, fantastic. Moving on. What is your favourite action adventure film?
What did I put? I can't remember what I put.
First Blood. You went
First Blood. Yeah. Well, obviously by my age, Rambo, Rocky, RoboCop, Terminator, all these films came out when I was just a little kid.
Yeah.
I was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that really resonated with me the most was Rambo 1, First Blood, because this is the guy who went to Vietnam. He fought for his country. And, a lot of Vietnam vets came back to this country, and they were just ostracized, and they came back to other countries, and they were just ostracized. People looked down on them like, oh, how dare you come over here, and you need to leave. And all he wanted to do was go get something to eat, come through the town and go get something to eat. He was going to move on.
Yeah. And
Brian Dennehy just was a complete jerk of a police chief or a sheriff or whatever he was. And that Rambo movie was the movie that really, that is the tip. I mean, Terminator was great and RoboCop was great, but I really resonated with that one Rambo film because I did like the Vietnam era films and I did like Stallone and Rocky. And so that one specific Rambo really caught me because I felt bad for the guy, what he was going through,
Yes.
And I've been in there where people don't want you around, like, get away from me and get out of town and all. I've been there before, and it's not fun not being wanted, No,
absolutely. Obviously, Nate, based on the novel by David Morrell. Yeah, David Morrell. I've read the book. In the book, you say how Dennehy obviously doesn't like him, and he's a nasty, horrible piece of work. But in the book, it goes into a lot more of him, and the reason of his hatred is not because he's a Vietnam vet. He's jealous of the attention he's getting because he's a Korean War vet. He's a decorated Korean War veteran, and he's like his vets have been pushed out of the limelight almost and not getting the attention anymore. And he goes in a lot more into that detail of him as to more of his motivation rather than I don't like drifters, get out of my town. But
yeah. And there's a big American TV star named David Caruso.
Oh yes,
he's got a little role as a deputy. And he's such a putz in the movie, but then he goes on to have this great American TV career in NYPD Blue and CSI Miami.
I always remember him in the film Jade.
Jade, yeah.
Yeah,
his film career wasn't that good.
No. One thing about First Blood that always makes me chuckle when watching it. It's this little no-mark town in the middle of nowhere, but on a half a mile stretch of it seems to have 5 petrol stations, 5 gas stations. In the middle of nowhere, no-mark town is, But anyway, no, a good film, obviously. One where I think the sequel is more beloved than the original. Not by some. I mean, it goes into full-blown Stallone movie, I think.
Oh,
the
yeah,
sequels do. The first one has got a lot more nuance and a little bit more reasoning why he is like he is. Once they got into, 3 is just jumping the shark a little bit, but 2, 2 is generally. A lot of people that I know like the second one more because it's they like it for the Stallone. It's action. It's balls to the wall, and away we go. No, good film. Okay then, what's your favourite horror?
I put a tie. I think I have a tie, and a lot of times when I love something a lot, it's because in the horror genre, it's because it scares the crap out of me.
Yep. And
Alien and Aliens, to me, they have to go together.
Yes.
Because you can't separate one without the other. And so the Aliens franchise, those specific 2 films, I am deathly afraid of like creepy crawly critters at night.
Yep.
Bugs, big bugs, and Aliens just hit that spot for me as a kid. I just was like, oh my God, I just wanted to crawl up in a ball and never wake up watching Aliens. And Ellen Ripley, Sigourney Weaver, what can you say about that character?
Career-defining role for Sigourney Weaver, absolutely. One of the most iconic movie monsters of all time. And as you say, it's such the original, the first, the Alien is such an atmospheric film. You don't see the alien, you don't see the actual xenomorph until an hour into the film. An hour into the movie, it only gets 4 minutes of screen time in total in the first one, but it's such an iconic design. H.R. Geiger in it is fantastic with the way he's done it. The second one, I prefer Aliens to Alien, but it's more of an action horror rather than a straight up horror. But no, it's love the films, love them. Well, those 2.
Yeah, the first one's more of a claustrophobic film where you don't see the bad guy that much, and you're just jumping from little things that happen. Like you said, the xenomorph, and then the second one's more of an action film, and it's more of a film where Sigourney Weaver gets to shine. Yeah, yes. And she has the big crane thing, and she's going at it. And I don't like to curse, so I'm not going to say the words that she says.
Yeah.
But
no problem. Another little thing: Harrison Ford turned down the chance to be Captain Dallas.
Wow.
In doing that, it's I think probably for him, he probably is like, I don't want to do another space movie after obviously Solo. Definitely a rule. Once Aliens is out of the way, anyway, the rule of diminishing returns on sequels. I think Alien and Aliens, as you say, are rightly up there, but 3, 4, and then the new Prometheus and Covenant, I'm not a fan of as much, shall we say.
Oh, the last one was awful. I really thought what they did with Prometheus, though, really had some potential, what they could have been doing with it. Yeah. And then the last one is like, oh God, this is awful.
Yeah, utter garbage. I've tried to watch it 2 or 3 times now and just can't get through it. I'm just sitting there bored. It's not good for a film.
Stupid. The characters they do and say stupid things.
Yes.
And it's like, really? Come on, guys. Ridley Scott, you know better than this, you know better than this. Yeah. But we won't get into that.
No. Okay, fantastic. Moving on then. What's your favourite drama?
Oh, I think I put it. What did I do? Put a tie at Godfather and Godfather Part 2. Yeah, well, God, when I talked to you before, when I wanted to celebrate as many great films of my favorite films of all time, and so, and then here's another one where you just can't separate The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2, in my opinion.
No.
And I know Casablanca is my favorite film of all time, but The Godfather, Godfather Part 2 are 1 and 2 on my 2 and 3 on my list. And it just, I learned so much about the mafia from a friend of mine, a boss of mine years ago, and these films really, I get more out of them every time I watch them. I mean, the performances by Marlon Brando, and Al Pacino, and just so many. When you get people like Bob Costas, who's like a sportscaster in America, he's quoting stuff with Luca Brasi and Swimming with the Fishes and just some of that kind of stuff. It has resonated. It has transcended time. And The Godfather are just two amazing films, and you just can't separate them. Michael Cazale, who's only did 5 films in his entire career, 2 of those 5 are The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2.
No, absolutely.
Go ahead.
No, please.
And Robert Duvall, James Caan, Diane Keaton. The list goes on and on. Robert De Niro is in Part 2 as young Vito Corleone. It's unbelievable how amazing these films are. And like Casablanca, I could go on and on and on about talking about. I'm actually going to be doing the first 2 episodes of the 52 must-see movies and why they matter of season 2 are going to be The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2.
Oh wow, yeah, no, absolutely. I had a wry smile when you see you put them both as tied there. As I've mentioned before on previous episodes, the first time I saw The Godfather was on VHS, and it was placed as not as a theatrical release. It was on the almost a timeline. It's done as a timeline, so it wasn't Part 1, Part 2. It was intercut, so it went in as young Vito to teenage to young adult, and went through from that lot. So you have Part 1 and Part 2 intercut in between each other. And it was only until I got the DVD box set and upgraded from VHS to DVD that I actually saw, I think, Part 1 and Part 2 separately. As you watch it, and I remember watching it in that cut, it is there, so you're watching it in timeline order, and it really brings it a lot into focus what Brando's character eventually, Vito Corleone, went through to become the man that he is when you start Part 1 as it is there. The early stuff is really good. He really develops into the man we see in The Godfather from The Godfather Part 2, and the De Niro stuff was great. And of course, I had about 3 different times I was going to buy the T-shirt Janko Olive Oil Company. Oh yes.
If I would have bought that and walked around, if anybody would have known what Janko Olive Oil was,
didn't know that a fan.
It was the front company for what he was doing, but he had a legitimate business when, of course, he went into some other businesses. Yeah. Of course, and going back to some of the greatest quotes of all time, when I left my previous job to come to my new job, all my bosses, they asked me, why are you leaving? I said, they made me an offer I couldn't refuse.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And that was the truth. They made me an offer I couldn't refuse. That whole scene with the horse and the producer and the oh my God. And I actually met another one of my favorite lines from the films is I met the guy, I can't think of his name now off the top of my head, but this is leave the gun, take the cannolis.
Oh,
I got a bumper sticker. Of that. I got the guy to sign the bumper sticker.
Oh,
that's
wow.
Great. He lives about 20 minutes away from me here in Florida. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. No, it's up there. I think it's in my top 3. It's difficult to. I can't separate the 2 myself either. You don't get 2 without the magnificence of 1. But as you say, when you've watched them both, the second one enhances the viewing of the first one. It's a perfectly weird dynamic between the 2 of the films. No, brilliant. I didn't say I cannot fault the choices at all.
Coppola, what a decade the guy had. He had those 2 films. Oh, yes. He had The Conversation, and he had Apocalypse Now. I mean, to have 4 amazing films like he had, and considered probably one or some of the top greatest films of all time, Apocalypse Now. Arguably Apocalypse Now is just a phenomenal film as well.
Yeah. No, brilliant. Okay. What's your favourite comedy?
Okay, well, this is where my age really comes into it. I'm 44 years old, and when I was a kid, I just loved. I have never been a fan of comedy, but a good comedy I will enjoy. Like I saw Game Night a couple of weeks ago, and I said, is this as good as I think it is? And then when people started seeing Game Night, and they're like, oh my God, Game Night's great. I'm like, thank God I'm not the only one that thought it was good. Sometimes when I see movies 2-3 weeks early from everybody else, I get worried whether I like it and if everybody else isn't going to like it. Well, when I was a kid, you had shows like The Odd Couple and stuff like that. But before the show was the movie with Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau.
Oh, God, yes.
And, now they have a new show, The Odd Couple, with the guy from Friends and another guy. I can't think of the guy's name. But you're just, the kind of humor was just like normal humor, like kind of banter between buddies, and that's the kind of humor I like, just normal, like intelligent kind of humor.
Yes.
And a movie that a lot of people never probably, I mean, unless you're in your 60s, probably you rarely ever heard of. My other one that I had, it was called Mr. God.
Mr. Roberts is what you put down. Mr. Roberts.
Mr. Roberts is one of the funniest movies I have ever seen, and it's got, I mean, once again, you got some classic actors. Henry Fonda, James Cagney, Jack Lemmon are in this, and they're in the Navy, and James Cagney's like a captain of a ship, and these guys are just kind of like the doctor and a normal guy, like a private on a ship, and just the banter that goes on and the kind of the craziness that goes on a Navy ship. They go to port, they see all these foreign women like Maui or whatever the island was they ended up going to, and it's like, oh my God, look at all these hot Fijian women or Maui women or whatever it was, the island that they went to, and just the pranks that they play on one another. Like James Cagney had a plant, and there's this whole gag with the plant and stuff. And I think that was like James Cagney's last movie or one of his last movies he ever did. And Henry Fonda was pretty young, still pretty, in the middle of his career at that time. But that's the kind of humor that I enjoy. But if it's funny, I will laugh at it. And of course, modern day, The Hangover and a couple others, that are really good. But I wanted to celebrate. I wanted to share The Odd Couple and Mr. Roberts, because I just feel like they don't get a lot of people to talk about those films.
No, absolutely. As I say, it's difficult with humour because humour it's a very personal thing. It's what's funny to you might not be funny to me, might not be funny to my wife, might not be. It's especially to get a worldwide hit is so difficult because national sensibilities and national humour is obviously so different. My favourite is Monty Python and the Holy Grail. It's one of the few British films that actually transcended and is probably more popular in America than it is in the UK now. But no, I must admit, I've not seen Mr. Roberts. I've seen The Odd Couple once a long while ago, I think, but no, okay, good films.
Monty Python, I mean, we're doing that episode later on in the year as well, so, but that is it transcends everything you can think of. It is just so many different things that people talk about. You hear the little things that people mention, and it's like, yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm just even now it comes into I've just re-listened to the audio book of Ready Player One. Obviously, the film coming out in a couple of weeks, and it got to the part spoiler alert for it. There's a part where where the Holy Grail is referenced in it, and I'm like, even to an author that's bringing through all this, like it finds its way into so many different areas of culture and especially even relevant now in modern pop culture. It's brilliant. Okay, moving on then. What's the film that makes you happy?
I'm not looking at my list. I forget what I
No problem. Right, okay. You put down as a film that makes you happy is the Slumdog Millionaire.
All right. I put Slumdog Millionaire because, first of all, I'm a trivia buff, and if you know me, or a lot of my friends on YouTube and Facebook and so forth, they know I'm a huge trivia buff. So when I was growing up, a show that really, I mean, I was in my early 20s really when it really was hitting its stride. It was called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yep.
And I wanted to be on that show so bad. And this movie is based on a book called, I think, 1, 2, 3, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
And it's directed by Danny Boyle, and it won the Best Picture Oscar. But it's about where the kid who's answering the questions gets his inspiration for the answers of the questions, and you get to see him growing up as a child, and he loses his girlfriend, and he finds his girlfriend, and it's in India, and it's just such a wonderful story in what he goes through to get to the point where he knows the answers to these questions. Is just so, it made me so happy in the end. And when you think about Slumdog Millionaire, you say, wow, what a good story, what a happy ending, what a happy story that this kid had, and what he ends up going through in this film. I wanted to talk about Slumdog Millionaire. It definitely is a film that makes me happy a lot. I mean, I just when I first saw it, I could not believe what I was watching. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe how wonderful and how beautiful and how heartwarming this film is.
No, absolutely. It's the exact perfect word. It's a heartwarming film. It really is. It's a feel good movie. You come to the end there, and you can't help but be caught up in the whole quiz show program within it. It's I enjoyed watching it. It's another one I've not watched for a while. I really ought to sit down and watch that again because I really enjoyed it the first time I watched it.
And Danny Boyle's in talks to possibly do the next Bond.
Yes. 20. Yeah, I heard that.
We'll see. I mean, and Brits love their James Bond. I know that, and Danny Boyle is a Brit, so to see a legendary Brit do James Bond, it's got to be good. I mean, he's got a couple things he's got to work out with it, because I guess it has to do with the script and whatnot. Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's to see if he could get anything of the train spotting in there or anything like that. It'll be an interesting choice. It's the hardcore fans of Bond. I could imagine once if he gets announced as it, I can't see they'll open arms too much for him. But hey, stranger things have happened. Okay, it's flipping it on its head. What's the film that makes you sad?
Honestly, I'm sorry, man. I don't have my list.
No. Okay, no problem. It's Pride of the Yankees. You went with.
Yeah, I put Pride of the Yankees. Are you a fan of familiar with American baseball at all, Dave?
I watch it. I know how it's played. I've been to see a AAA game at Vegas. Went to see the Vegas 51s when we were there. So yeah, I enjoy it. I've seen it. I'm not a massive follower of it.
Well, this film is about the New York Yankees, and if you see my hat is got a symbol of the Boston Red Sox.
Yep.
And that's my favorite team. But our rivalry is the New York Yankees.
Yep.
And in the heyday of the New York Yankees, they had such players as Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. Well, Lou Gehrig in this movie is played by Gary Cooper. And Gary Cooper, you know him from Sergeant York and High Noon and films such as that. Well, he plays Lou Gehrig, and Lou Gehrig is like at the top of his game for the New York Yankees, and he is like amazing. He's competing with Babe Ruth, and then all of a sudden he comes out with he ends up getting a debilitating disease, and we now know as Lou Gehrig's disease, but it's Parkinson's disease.
Okay, yeah.
And so he ends up having to give this speech about how he has to retire from the game of baseball when he's in his early 30s because he can't play the game of baseball anymore. And it's one of the most sad speeches you'll have ever witness or see on television. And this is my favorite. I mean, this and Raging Bull. We'll get into Raging Bull.
Yeah.
But this is one of the saddest movies I have ever watched in my life, because the potential of Lou Gehrig and how great this guy could have been. You know, Babe Ruth and him played on the same Yankees team at the same time.
Yeah.
And with his career being cut short because of this debilitating disease that people like Michael J. Fox and Muhammad Ali all have gotten this disease. It's sad to see somebody so great be torn down.
Yeah, it's
because of something that's out of their control. You know.
Yeah. I mean, it breaks my heart seeing. It's so Ali. My granddad suffered and died with Parkinson's. So seeing it, I remember when Ali won the BBC Sports Personality of the Year, and I've not seen him in such a long time live. And I saw him come up, and I recognised the symptoms of it straight away, and from when my granddad had it, and it brought me to tears watching something like that. So that it's a film I've not seen. I'll be honest with you, but I can imagine just knowing now that the basis of it would I can't imagine I'll be able to get through it too easily.
If you don't have a tear in your eye when he's doing that speech at the end, near the end of the movie, you're just not human.
No, absolutely. Okay, bringing us up slightly then. Name a film you practically know the entire script of.
I put Raging Bull, I believe. I think I put Raging Bull. This is a film that I will talk about this film with anybody that wants to talk about it. It has got a lot of really difficult subject matter about beating women and abuse.
Yeah.
And this man of Jake LaMotta is just such a despicable kind of guy, because his name is the Raging Bull because of what he does in the ring, but actually it's about the man outside the ring as well. And he really reminded me of my father, and this film I could watch over and over and over again, and it's just such he ends up getting a 16-year-old girl at the pool, the local pool, where cities all have their like little city pool, and you would go, he's a grown adult man, he's a womanizing a 16-year-old Kathy Moriarty at a pool. And my mother was very, very young when my father married her, and then they had a family and they had kids, but they should never have had it. So this film really parallels my own life as a child. My father was an abusive father. Mm-hmm. He was abusive to me and my brothers and sisters and my mother, and so I really know a lot about this film. And the boxing aspect is one of the things that really I love the most out of it, because growing up, that's one of the things I did with my father. We sat down. One of the positives that we had was we watched sports. Notre Dame, we watched boxing, we watched baseball, whatever. And when he gets in the ring and they fought Sugar Ray Robinson and Jake LaMotta, they fought 5 times. And they fought twice in a period of 3 weeks. He lost the match, but he said, "You never got me down, Ray. You never got me down." And the guy was just such a despicable person, but he was just such a great boxer. And at that time, the middleweight division was just such a great division in boxing. And I know so many of the lines. Of course, we got Joe Pesci. We see him years later in a bunch of Scorsese movies, but he's first in Raging Bull as the brother of Jake LaMotta, and he of course the famous line, "Did you F my wife? Did you F my wife?" He's like beating his own brother up because he thinks he messed with his wife and stuff. Just then the whole thing. Then when his wife's making a mistake, he just completely goes off the rail. "You are burning my steak! You're burning my steak!" And I mean, he just goes crazy. I know it sounds pretty bleak or miserable, but this is kind of like my life growing up with my father.
No, absolutely. It's a magnetic performance from De Niro as him. went through some extreme preparation for it. Actually going through, entered into 3 New York boxing matches, winning 2 of them in training for it. He's got a 2-1 professional boxing record. As he was doing that, he would spar with LaMotta, with training for it. They went through over 1,000 rounds with LaMotta training, and LaMotta would say, if he wanted to, he could make it as a boxer. It's obviously famously in black and white during a film when colour film. I didn't realise, first time I'd come across it and I was young seeing it, I thought it must be an old film, old
1980.
but when I first saw it. The reason he made it in black and white is from LaMotta's autobiography, or the book that was from there. It was a phrase was, I sometimes lie awake thinking of my life and I see it as a black and white film. And he saw that quote, and that was the reason that the whole film is black and white.
The framing sequences are just so, amazing. He gained 60. Robert De Niro gained 60 pounds for the framing sequences, the beginning and the end of the film, and he's just such a despicable guy. He gets arrested for serving underage girls at his comedy club. It's at the premiere. I think I remember reading, LaMotta turned to his wife. He says, "I wasn't that bad, was I?" She says, "No, you were worse." I mean, as bad as he is on there, apparently he was a lot worse than the film portrayed. Even it's no, brilliant. Okay, I think tied a little bit in with this a little bit. Favorite director? Martin Scorsese, obviously. That film. That and Taxi Driver. As a kid, I didn't find. Was it Boxcar Bertha and Mean Streets and a couple of the Scorsese's other ones until later, but it was Taxi Driver and Raging Bull that really just the grittiness of New York, the grittiness of characters of Travis Bickle and Jake LaMotta, and that's why Robert De Niro is my favorite actor. I think, is that one of the questions? Yeah,
we'll get to him. We'll get to that in a few questions. Yeah,
well, he is amazing. Scorsese, just what I love about Scorsese is he knows how to just tear down everything and make it just kind of like gritty and just simple, and then make you as the viewer give your opinion of these more often than not despicable characters that he's putting on screen. Whether it's in The Aviator with Howard Hughes, or whether it's what's the one where De Niro is Max Cady and
Cape Fear.
Say that again.
Cape Fear, Max Cady.
Cape Fear, Max Cady and Cape Fear. Even Henry Hill and those characters in Goodfellas.
Yes.
He glamorizes the world that they live in, but he knows that you have to give your opinion about the people, and the people are despicable people. Yeah. And he just finds a way to tell stories about some of these just despicable, nasty, awful human beings, whether it be real people or fake people. Even with The Wolf of Wall Street, I grew up with the commercials for Jordan Belfort. I remember the commercial where he's walking out of the plane, he's walking right towards the screen. I can make you rich, and da-da-da-da-da. You do this phone call. I remember that guy. And he was, and of course, years later, come to find out the guy was a fraud,
Yep.
And, of course, The Departed one I really resonated with a lot, based on Infernal Affairs.
Yes.
But I'm really looking forward to The Irishman that's coming out later this year on Netflix. I just hope it's just like, you're like, please be great. Please be great. I'm so worried, No.
I'm The Irishman, obviously the technology is there. We've seen it work on small sections, a scene at a time. I'm not.
Disney's really good at it, Dave.
Yeah.
They are really good with taking one little small scene, whether it be with Johnny Depp in Pirates or Robert Downey Jr. in Civil War, Captain America Civil War, or Age of Ultron. I think it was Age of Ultron. Disney's been really good at it. Yeah. I'll give them credit with it. But doing it a lot like they're going to have to do in the Irish is going to be very tricky. But obviously, De Niro and DiCaprio have been the muse of Scorsese.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And people like the cinematographers, the editors, the people that do his scores on his films. I mean, they work with Scorsese years and years and years.
Yeah.
And that's an attestament to how great of a filmmaker Scorsese is, that these people will edit his films for decades or do the costumes for decades or whatever,
Yeah, no, absolutely. As I say, I think the first one of Scorsese's I remember watching was Goodfellas. I mean, that's came out in 1990, so I was, what was that? 5 to 18. I was 15 when that came out, so I wouldn't have seen it straight away. But that was the first one I remember watching. Which got me then hooked onto the whole, even more into the Italian mafia scene and those kind of, not the scene as such, the movies of them. But yeah, I mean, his Casino, another one of his that I love. But even after you do that, he's still, obviously, he was Michael Jackson's director of Michael Jackson's videos and compilations and everything like that. It's be able to go back and forth between doing these big blockbusters and then going back and doing, obviously, the king of pop at the time and doing his, because there's got to be two completely different skill sets to do a music video and a blockbuster.
Well, yeah, he loved music so much that he would do these documentaries. Like, he did a documentary in the 2000s about the Rolling Stones, and one of his films that he wants to do, I don't know if he's going to do it, he's like up in the 80s, I think. He wants to do a Ramones documentary or a Ramones film. I don't remember. Rumored Ramones film. I don't know which it's going to be, whether it's going to be a documentary or if it's going to be a live action movie about the Ramones. A Mike Tyson film with Jamie Foxx as Mike Tyson.
Yes.
Not the goofy Mike Tyson he played on in Living Color.
No.
If you haven't seen that, you can look it up. But he's going to really bring out the Mike Tyson. I still think Jamie Foxx could really do a great job as the right person to play the kind of Mike Tyson you want to see on screen.
No,
but those are a couple others down the pipe that he's talking about doing. And maybe even a Sinatra film. He really wanted to do a Sinatra film, but the son of Frank Sinatra Jr. doesn't want to tell the PG-13 doesn't want to tell the rated R version of Sinatra.
No.
He wants to tell the PG-13 version.
Yeah.
No, you can't.
No, everybody knows he wasn't Sweetness and Light. They know he wasn't a saint and holier than thou. We know he got linked with the mob. We know he was on set, what kind of person he was during his filming. Let it be made. It's only going to make his estate more money at the end of the day.
Absolutely. But Frank Sinatra Jr., same thing with Queen. They don't want to tell the PG-13 versions of these. No. And that's not a good movie. It's not going to make a good movie.
No, absolutely. Okay, then. Moving on. What's your favourite film of your childhood?
I'll tell you what. When I was a kid, when you're a little kid, Dave, everything seems bigger and grander and wider and more just vast. And your eyes are just like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And we have, when I was a kid, things called drive-in theaters. I don't know if you have them in England.
No, we've never really had them over there. They never really took off.
Well, over here, that's one of the few things my parents did right, was they would take us to the drive-in theater. And when it came out as a kid, everybody and the drive-in theaters were packed for months and months. And that's where you didn't have cell phones, you didn't have video games, you didn't have everything, computers. You had movies and TV. That's what you had. Or you went out to a ball game or something like that.
Yep.
So the movie theaters and the drive-ins were slam-packed full of people, especially when you had such an amazing movie as E.T. the extraterrestrial. I felt like when I saw Elliot on that bicycle with E.T. going up, I thought he went right through the drive-in theater, right into the sky. That's how, I mean, when I was a kid, I swear to you, Dave, that's what it felt like to me as a child. To this very day, I felt like that theater never ended, that it just went, he just went up into the sky, and he's flying around in space or whatever, E.T. and Elliot, and I just absolutely loved that film so much as a child. And of course, once again, you're so sad because E.T. phoned home and some of the things, the men in the suits and the things, the FBI looking guys we all come to know now, and you know, such an obvious thing. But back then, that was the first time you seen something like that. You didn't see like these men in black suits and the cars and the suitcase and all the kind of like space suits where like, oh, you're in quarantine and all this stuff. And then of course my favorite candy of all time, Reese's Pieces. How can you not love Reese's Pieces, you know?
No, absolutely. I mean, I love that film. It's the first film I remember crying to. Obviously, when again, spoiler alert for a film that's, God, what was it, 35 years old now? when he's ill and he's practically dying and he's on there, and I'm not ashamed to it, I had tears running down my face. An amazing film that's in equal parts one of the funniest films you'll watch, to one of the most heartbreaking, to the most action-packed. The chase scene where they're on the bikes and they're getting away from him. No, I love that film. I genuinely love that film. My favourite standalone alien, extraterrestrial type film. I think it just warms my heart every time. And
that's of course right in the middle of where Spielberg was at the top of his game at that point.
Absolutely. The one thing that since I've grown up and watched it again, and obviously know more about films and more about different films, the whole Star Wars connection with it, obviously with the prequels, how George Lucas put the E.T. race in there, which always then made me think, but how are he's playing with Star Wars toys, but now he's in Star Wars. It always scratches my head now thinking about it when it's tying up like that.
That was always a kind of, but that's because they were such close friends, you know. They always, worked together so much, like on Raiders and so. But they were Coppola, Spielberg, and Lucas were all really close friends.
Yeah, no, absolutely. A great film, a truly good. I mean, it's a film I can't believe I overlooked when I did mine. I mean, mine, I went old school Disney. I went Fox and the Hound for my favourite childhood one. I still love that film now. Okay, fantastic, brilliant film. Moving on, kind of in the same vein, what's your favourite animated film?
I think I put with Finding Nemo.
Either one. You went Lion King on my list, but if you want to go Finding Nemo, absolutely no problem.
Lion King's fine. Well, they're like A and B for me for animated films. So no, the Lion King. Wow. Oh God, what can I say? I mean, the music, just the characters, just everything you could want in an animated film. I know why I didn't put Finding Nemo, because I consider that computer animation, and that's Pixar. That's different. So that's why I put Lion King, because that's true animation.
Absolutely.
And it's just such a, I mean, the songs and just everything about the film, James Earl Jones and Jeremy Irons, and just, God almighty, I love it so much. It just, that's another one where I come out of that film and the lines going into it for days and days and weeks on end were ridiculous at this theater. This theater had like 6 theaters here in Florida where I live, and of course they got another theater now, but back then, and the lines were going out the door for miles around the block for the Lion King for weeks. That's how popular that movie was with fans and children and parents. And it's a beautiful film. That's one of the animation it stands up today as just an amazing animated film with the drawn animation, but the characters and the songs from Elton John, of course, and you from England, you're probably a fan of Elton John, right?
I'm aware of him. Yeah, no, it's exactly, this is where our lists coincide. It's my favourite animated film. I mean, it's essentially Disney's Hamlet. It's but the way that going to be able to get a film, and it is essentially for children, but you've got the Hamlet theme running through it that the adults will recognise, and you've got the lines that are blatantly there for the parents, because they know they're going to be sitting next to the children watching it. I adore the film. It's the Be Prepared song for me is just absolutely fantastic. The hyenas,
Pumbaa and Timon and the little Simba are walking. That is how they grow up on that whole scene where they're growing up and they're singing and stuff. And then of course, once again, you get the quotes that transcend. Hakuna Matata.
Yeah,
it means no worries. I mean, great films always have that thing. People talk about the film 10, 15, 20 years later. They say the line. Yeah. That's okay, a movie can win Best Animated Feature or Best Picture or whatever, but you don't know how great, and going back to Raging Bull for a second, you don't know how great films are until 10 years, 11 years. Raging Bull didn't even win Best Picture in 1981. It lost to Ordinary People, which is an absolute tragedy.
Yeah.
And Robert Redford's only Oscar the guy has ever won. He won Best Director for Ordinary People. How is that? And then at the end of the decade, Time Magazine put out their list of the greatest movies of the 80s, and guess what won? Raging Bull won.
Yeah. No,
so
absolutely.
That tells you how. But The Lion King transcends time. And they wouldn't be doing the live-action remake of it if it was horrible. Disney's going back and doing all these live-action remakes of these great animated films. But what Jon Favreau did with The Jungle Book, it really lends itself to The Lion King. So yes. I'm really looking forward to seeing if he could pull it off.
Yeah, if he can pull it off. I mean, I really enjoyed The Jungle Book remake. I mean, it's difficult. Live action, I mean, The Jungle Book. The only thing that was live action in The Jungle Book was Mowgli. Everything else was CG. I imagine this one is going to be all CG because they're not going to get lions on set doing that.
No.
But no, I love Lion King. It's one that I watch on an annual basis at the very least. If it's on, I will always watch it. I say quotes. Yeah, Hakuna Matata. The whole thing. Or what's eating you? Nothing. It's on the top of the food chain. No, don't be a martyr. What's a martyr? Nothing. What's the matter with you? The whole hyena scene in the elephant graveyard and the Mufasa and the say it again. Love the film. All right, okay. I've got a feeling we're going to go back to a film we've touched on already here. But what's your favourite quote from any film? No, I'm going to leave you on the loop here. I'm going to make you tell me what the one you gave to me. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Ooh.
Oh my God! Come on, man! I can't remember what I'm
going to make you an offer you can't refuse.
Oh, that's right. I already said it. I already used that. I already said it within this interview. I'm going to make you an offer I can't refuse. I mean, it's just such a great line in all of film. I mean, I don't know what I don't know what else I could say about it. I mean, like I said, I used it when I switched jobs the last time. Yep. I switched from one job to mine. I told all my bosses, they made me an offer I couldn't refuse. And that, I mean, how are you going to make? When Michael Corleone and different people, they say, "Oh, how are you going to?" I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse. I mean, just such a phenomenal line. I mean, how could someone come up with that line in film? Is this kind of? It just baffles the mind how great that line is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's. I mean, obviously, the way he tells the story, the way Michael tells the story in at the wedding scene at the beginning there is just like he goes to the band leader and he tells him it's either a signature or brains are going to be on the contract. yeah, it's the whole story behind the first time of it. It's a quote that transcends film now. It's working its way, and it's not just mentioned when talking about The Godfather. Now it's, as you say, it's done when leaving one job to another. It's doing. I tell it to my eldest son, and this is, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. You do this, or you lose something. It's again, our lists coincide here. I couldn't crack it down to one quote for me. I had four. I had May the Force be with you, had to be in there. Make an offer I couldn't refuse. Ever Danced with the Devil by the Pale Moonlight from Batman '89, and then the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist, from my favourite film, which is The Usual Suspects, obviously. But yeah, it's a fantastic quote that transcends everything it ever started and ever meant with.
Yeah, that's
brilliant. Okay, right. What's the best film you've seen this past year?
well. Last year, you're going to probably be you probably were a happy camper when you saw this one. I'm hoping. I'm thinking, oh, Dave's going to like this. He's a Brit. He can appreciate this. Last year, I know, people were talking about Shape of Water, Three Billboards, this, Lady Bird, this, that, and people were like, well, this is going to be the hardest year to pick a winner for Best Picture. I'll be honest with you, I liked all those films. I didn't love them as much as I loved Dunkirk.
Okay.
Christopher Nolan, to me, next to, obviously, my top three, Spielberg, Scorsese, Spielberg, Coppola, those guys are the top. Christopher Nolan, the last 20 years, is the best filmmaker in all of film.
Yep.
And I think you could arguably say The Dark Knight is his best film he's ever done. And he got robbed when it comes to Oscars and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Inception. Some people would put Inception in there. But I'll tell you what he did with Dunkirk, and this is where I kind of get myself into trouble sometimes, because I don't like arguing. I do get upset about things, and some of my friends, Jeremy, will know I had a bad weekend last weekend. Some things didn't go my way. I kind of got upset at him, but people, I don't like Dunkirk. There's no acting. No, it's not about the acting. It's about being immersed in the world that Christopher Nolan creates, which means you need to see Dunkirk on the largest possible screen with surround sound and everything around you, surrounding you. And when I sat there in IMAX, we have a giant IMAX screen here in Orlando, Florida, and the surround sound, I'm like turning my neck. I'm like, look, bullets are coming. Jets are flying. I'm like, where's the jets coming from? What? And then the waves, and then the bullets coming into the boat while the guys are hiding in the boats, and just the dog fighting in the sky.
Yeah.
I could not believe what I was watching and how amazing of an experience Dunkirk was. And by the end of the year, I was watching all those quote unquote Oscar contenders and whatnot. And yeah, was it a great year last year? It was a good, easy 30 to 40 great films that came out last year. Another one that didn't get a lot of love, which I thought was amazing. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? It was Blade Runner 2049. I mean, what a feat of filmmaking.
Yeah.
But Dunkirk to me is I know he's not going to win Best Director and he's not going to win Best Picture, but I think it's a tragedy. This is his 10th film the guy has made, and he's easily the best filmmaker in movies today, in my opinion.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's I've not seen Dunkirk.
Oh my God!
I know. I had the chance to go. My wife and my mother-in-law were going. Did you want to go? I to this day, I don't know why I passed it up. I passed up to do something else. I can't remember what it was. I will get around to seeing it. I know I will. Going on to Nolan, there's not a film that Nolan's made that I don't enjoy.
Guy hasn't made a bad film.
No.
You may not like The Dark Knight Rises, some people, but it's not a bad film.
It's not. It just doesn't compare to The Dark Knight. That's the only problem.
It doesn't.
There's not many films that do.
No, and then Inception after that,
Yeah, I mean, Memento it's his on-screen, big on-screen launch with it. Obviously, he did as it did the following couple of years before it. But Memento with Guy Pearce is such an incredibly original film.
Yeah, really.
I don't think there's been another one anything close to being like it.
Nothing.
Insomnia, I've got on my DVR and I watch it regularly. I love that film. Robin Williams' portrayal in that is absolutely fantastic. Then the Dark Knight one, The Prestige. I adore The Prestige. But no, it's Dunkirk. We'll go around to watching. It's just one that's for some reason.
You have what kind of TV do you have, Dave? Do you have like huge big TV? I don't want you to give away your personal business.
No. It's large-ish. It's up on the wall. It's by no means massive, but it does meet.
Is it 4K? Is it a 4K TV by any chance?
No, it's not. That's the next upgrade for me. Is to get something along that line.
If you get, I'm telling you right now, if you get a 4K TV, get the 4K edition of Dunkirk on Blu-ray, and then hook up your speakers to your TV, and you'll get as close of an experience of watching Dunkirk in an IMAX screen as you'll ever get by doing it that way. And you'll be, oh my God, he's right. This film is phenomenal.
I'm going to say I've heard good things from it. I've heard people that say likewise were almost not bored by it, but that didn't get enough out of it from what they wanted. But I mean, it's a Hollywood film of an almost exclusively British event, which we're pleased to see they actually got pretty much right, unlike the U-571, which completely flipped history on its head. But we like most people, we'll forget about that film. Okay, moving on then. Who's your favourite actor?
Well, Robert De Niro. Obviously, if I haven't friggin' gussed about Robert De Niro by now, I mean, I don't know what else I could do. You know, The Deer Hunter, Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, just those three films right there. If you don't think Robert De Niro is the greatest actor of all time by watching those three films, I know Pacino is my second favorite, so I'm not like, oh wow. No, Pacino and De Niro are like 1A and 1B for me. Mm-hmm. And of course, Brando is up there for me. But I just resonated with the type of roles that De Niro did. And even going back to King of Comedy, Rupert Pupkin. Oh my God, he was so good as Rupert Pupkin, and not a lot of people saw the King of Comedy. That Robert De Niro really does have a comedic side to him, with the Fokker movies and some. What he did, the gangster. Comedy.
Analyze this, analyze that.
Yeah, analyze this, analyze that. The guy has a comedic side that, for a guy that did so many great dramatic roles in his career, to have that comedic side. How can somebody have such a nuanced, amazing career? Well, De Niro has it, and I've been waiting. The role that I heard that he was going to play Vince Lombardi, and I've been waiting for him to play Vince Lombardi before his career is over. I really wanted to see that, but The Deer Hunter, obviously Godfather Part 2, Taxi Driver, and Raging Bull in the 70s. Of course, I'm going back to these 70s because that's in the 80s.
No, absolutely.
That's what I grew up with. But yeah, De Niro. What more can I say about him? He's amazing.
Yeah, there's not many actors that will have so many iconic roles and memorable roles, especially as obviously you've got young Vito in there, Travis Bickle, as you say,
Jake LaMotta.
Yeah, Jake LaMotta in there. The Deer Hunter character, I can't remember for the life of me what the character in the Deer Hunter. But also going through is Al Capone, playing Al Capone in The Untouchables, which I love that film. I mean, one of my favourite ones is Ronin. I love that film.
Oh God, Ronin! Yeah, one of the best car chases ever.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, going all the way through to now, he's traversed more into sort of like the comedy roles with the Meet the Parents and Meet the Fockers and all that. What's another one that he was in? Heat. Yes, that one. That's up there for me in with regards to that. No, brilliant. Okay, flipping on its head, go the other way. Who's your favourite actress?
Well, I mean, I know people. Oh, he's picking Robert De Niro and Meryl Streep. Oh, he's just picking the best. No, I'm picking the best because these are the people that I watched when I was a kid and I was a teenager and I was growing up. And Meryl Streep took about a decade and a half off of filmmaking. She disappeared for about a decade or a decade, and I think she did like one movie or something like that. Yeah. And that Death Becomes Her with Bruce Willis and Goldie Hawn. But she was raising I love that film. It's a funny film. It is so funny. And then she comes back, and bam, 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 The Iron Lady, Julie and Julia. Of course, has been getting nominated for things that I feel like she has deserved to be nominated for lately. Yeah. But she has been giving great performances. But French Lieutenant's Wife, Sophie's Choice, Kramer versus Kramer, The Deer Hunter. I mean, when back in the day, in the 70s and 80s, she killed it over and over and over again. Out of Africa, Ironweed, with Kurt Russell, where she gets infected while she was working in a factory.
Oh God, I can't remember for the life of me now.
But Meryl Streep, there's a reason why she keeps getting nominated for acting on Best Actress or Best Supporting Actress, because she is a phenomenal actress. But I remember her when I was a kid in all these great roles when I was younger. Kramer versus Kramer just killed me growing up. Just killed me growing up when I saw that movie. Yeah, but I got Streep.
Absolutely. It's as much as, again, it's a favourite actor, it's also a very personal thing. It's one that it by and large recognises the correct answer. If there's ever a way that it's as much as, okay, fair enough. Emma Stone's come up a couple of times on this as a favourite actor. I think by the time Emma Stone's been in the business as long as Meryl Streep has, she'll probably have the reputation that Meryl Streep's got. But she's got to get the reputation that Meryl Streep's got. Meryl Streep's got the reputation of being the best for a reason. Okay.
Yes.
Brilliant. Right, one of the most controversial on the list. What's your most overrated film?
Man, I don't know. This drives me nuts because I can't remember what I told you, but I should know this.
You went with, and it raised an eyebrow, but then I thought about it and I pretty much agreed with you. You went with The Last Jedi.
Yeah, all right. So I wanted to go with something that really I just absolutely hated and everybody else loved. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to go with something that is really modern and really recent.
Yep.
And I know my buddy Jeremy and a lot of my friends are like, you just don't see what we see in it. And that's why you love film. It's so subjective.
Absolutely.
And everybody sees something different in film. But I grew up with Star Wars. I grew up with The Empire Strikes Back. Mm-hmm. That film is one of the greatest films of all time. And Return of the Jedi was a phenomenal film. And then the prequels come out, and you're like, I see there's some good things in the prequel. I know a lot of people.
No, absolutely.
People, there's no good things in the prequels. All right, whatever. But The Last Jedi, what J.J. Abrams did in The Force Awakens, and then what Rian Johnson did in the last, he just tears down everything J.J. Abrams built in The Force Awakens. The only character that was actually done right, in my opinion, was Kylo Ren. I mean, the characters that I really loved about The Force Awakens was Poe Dameron and Finn, and they just completely ruined those characters in The Last Jedi. And then the whole scene with Luke and Rey on the island, like, what? Luke is not Luke. That's not Luke Skywalker. Then when he does in the end of the film, I don't buy it. I do not buy what he does at the end of that film because he's such a whiny, sniveling, weaselly, awful person on the island.
Yeah.
Throwing the lightsaber. That's not Luke. Luke wouldn't do that.
No.
Luke wouldn't throw the lightsaber. They were trying to go for cheap laughs, and I didn't buy it. And I just felt like Rey was completely wasted because she had to deal with all the stupid stuff that I thought was dumb. I just absolutely. I think The Last Jedi made my top 10 worst movies of the year list, and people are like, oh, how could you say that? Oh, it's so much better than one of the top worst movies of the year. Well, that's your opinion.
No, absolutely.
It's not mine.
Yeah, it's. I enjoyed the film. I likewise. I mean, we're of a very similar age. I mean, I'm 43 on Sunday. We grew up with the same films coming out at the same time with us. So yeah, Star Wars. I'm a massive Star Wars fan. Likewise, the prequels came out, and I enjoyed them at first when they first came out. I enjoyed them for what they were. It's Star Wars, yay! It's only sort of last over sort of 10 years now. I look back at them and it's like you look at the performances and the writing especially doesn't click. But there's still I prefer Revenge of the Sith over Jedi personally. But I have massive issues with The Last Jedi. My issues with The Last Jedi, it primarily rotates around Leia and the way that they had the chance for the fans to say goodbye so many times there. I mean, when yeah,
just get rid of her.
Yeah.
That's a perfect opportunity to get rid of Leia.
Yes.
Why not do it? Now keep the character in real life she's dead and get rid of the character in real life who's alive. That really makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, it's the perfect chance. She's blown out into space. Her arms are wide. She's there. Let her fade away, and there you go. You could even do it in post production. Film's finished. Film's all seen. Carrie Fisher, God bless her soul. She then dies. You have the chance to then cut her from the rest of the film. Okay, you miss then her reconnection with Luke, but not really reconnection with Luke because he's not really there. But yeah, as fans, it cuts us out at the knees because how are you going to kill her then? You're going to kill her in the credit crawl for episode 9? It's
stupid.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my main issue. I mean, if JJ comes back for episode 9 and makes that bit right, then I'm sure it will be looked on in more favourably. But you're right. Everything that JJ built up in The Force Awakens, pretty much every single part of it was chopped away. Snoke was built up to this big, masterful, all-powerful thing, only for Rian Johnson to say, yeah, you know what? Let's just kill him like a little bitch and just chopping him off on his own ship there. And yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you there.
I'm glad that you agree with that. Somebody has some common sense, you know.
Yeah.
I just felt like I was out on an island. You know, like
I don't dislike the film. I don't dislike the film. I came away from it and I enjoyed it. It's coming back and listening and thinking back. I mean, I've only seen it the once at the moment. Obviously, it's out on home release soon, and I will buy it because I'm that kind of geeky. I'm a completionist as well. I've got all the others. I've got the Clone Wars on DVD. I will get the Rebels when that's all finished on DVD and get the whole lot up on the shelf. But yeah, no, I'm agreeing with you.
Wow, I'm glad. I'll tell you what, man, you really made me proud that you agreed with me because I've been taking crap for months about this, man. Everybody's just like giving to me from every different direction, you know. And I will say this: the production value of this movie, first rate. I do not take anything away from Rian Johnson on the production value, but if you look at all the Star Wars films, the production value is first rate, you know, and like See, I have a friend who was in the movie, and he played one of the Red Praetorian Guards, and he played a stormtrooper in The Force Awakens. He told me in the original script that Poe was supposed to be the one that goes to the casino,
yes.
And it wasn't supposed to be Finn. And then they created a new character, and they had her go with Finn. That's why that stuff doesn't make any sense. In the original script, if you would have seen what Poe was going to do with Finn and going to casino and stuff. That would have been better because Poe's not the type of character to be stranded on a ship arguing with somebody the whole time. He's meant to be out fighting in a jet, in a TIE fighter or whatever, you know. Or
absolutely. I mean, JJ built him up as the hero of the rebellion, and now all of a sudden you turn him into a mutineer. You don't. Yeah, it
doesn't make any sense.
No.
You know, whatever. Well, I mean, we talked enough about Last Jedi.
Right. Let's flip it on its head. What's your most underrated film?
I'll tell you a film. I wanted to talk about a film that a lot of people did not, probably never even heard of, and you may not have heard of it either, Dave. It's called Brothers, and we see a lot of films nowadays about the Afghan War and the Iraq War. We've seen Vietnam War and World War II war movies, but we had we rarely have a movie that shows where a person is a prisoner of war and then has to become go home and then have PTSD. Yes. And in this film, Brothers, Jake Gyllenhaal and Tobey Maguire play brothers. In real life, they're like closest friends. They are like really close friends in real life. And Tobey Maguire is in the military. He goes off and he gets captured, and he's like, for a long time, maybe like a month, I think he's captured, and he's in a not a concentration camp, but he's in a prisoner of war camp for maybe 6 months or something like that. I don't know, maybe a month or 6 months, and then he gets rescued, and he comes back, and he has to assimilate into his life, and his brother took his wife, who's played by Natalie Portman in the film, and he, of course, he can't get along with his brother, he can't get along with his wife, he can't get along with people, he sees things that at the grocery store, or like mundane things that to him mean nothing because what he went through and what the world is going through at the time of what he went through. And I just wanted to share this movie called Brothers, and I just think it's one of the best movies about being a prisoner of war and about war. It really, and I've talked to people. See, when I watch war films, I ask them what some of the most realistic war films are, and I bring up 2, 3, 4, 5 different films, and I ask them, what do you think of this, and this? And they say, yeah, that really got what we were going through. And Brothers is one of those films where a lot of military people said that film really showed what it's like coming back from war and what they did with the capturing of him, being a prisoner, and the waterboarding and all the things he went through in Brothers. So I just wanted to shed some light on this film that I don't think a lot of people have seen. It's got Natalie Portman, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Tobey Maguire. Yes. I mean, are you kidding me?
No, absolutely. A good cast. As you say, it's not one I've seen. I don't even remember hearing about it until I saw it on your list. It's one that's, from every episode I've come across, there's been a film, there's an answer that's come up as a film I really should see. Dunkirk I will get around to, but Brothers, next time I see it around, I will sit myself down and have a watch of it. It sounds like a good one.
It really is. And, they do, the lone survivors, the 12 strong. You're getting a lot of these different stories from these wars, but this is one that is really and then of course you had the something jacket, the locker, the Hurt Locker. Yes. The Hurt Locker, which won Best Picture that year. Yeah. So you're getting a lot of these types of films, but rarely do they really hit home like Brothers does, in my opinion. Yeah.
Okay. No, it's a good one. Ryan, moving on. Your favourite character from any film?
Well, of course. I mean, if my trending of all of this stuff hasn't come to this by now, you just don't know me after Michael Corleone from the beginning of The Godfather. And I exclude Godfather Part 3. We should have never had that film made, even though it was nominated for Best Picture.
I quite enjoy it, to be honest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right, so let's say his arc as a character from the three of them. Michael Corleone, if it's not the great, maybe Han Solo, Skywalker, I don't know. Terminator, Rambo, Rocky. You could go a lot of different with the greatest, your favorite character, but mine is Michael Corleone.
Yeah.
And maybe that says something about me as a person, as a freaking gangster, you know.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it's, as you say, throughout the trilogy, which does obviously it charts his life. It's from being, while he was never, it was also obviously Sonny Corleone sees him as a wimp because he's not in the business. He comes back a war hero. He's no wimp. He's just not a criminal. He's just not a mobster. He gets into the family business not because he wants to be in the family business, because it's the most logical way of killing this gangster and getting his revenge on the police chief. It's the most logical way. Is let me do it. He's not going to accuse. He's not going to think it's me because I'm not in the business. He sort of falls his way into it. It's,
Bingo.
Yeah, no, one of the best cinematic characters around, and as you say, 3 has its detractors. I like it. The worst part of 3 is Sofia Coppola's, you can't see it, air quotes, acting in it. She is a far better director than an actress. And obviously her second part in the Godfather trilogy, because she was the baby in the wedding scene at the start. I love bringing that little fact out. It's 2 weeks in a row actually I brought that fact out now. A truly great character, and one that you can both empathise with, sympathise with, and truly hate, all within one film. Within Godfather Part 2, the range of feelings you'll feel towards Michael Corleone is truly amazing.
And to see, like you said before, see how he goes from just kind of an innocent war guy coming back from war to just embracing this role as this leader of this crime organization by the end of 2. It's just such a phenomenal character. I would argue with anybody, and I know everybody's got their opinion. That's why we love film, and it's all subjective. That this isn't the greatest character in movie history.
No, it is. Absolutely. Okay, moving on. A slightly strange one, because not many people actually watch them at all, but what's your favourite documentary?
Well, I'll tell you what, when I was telling you I'm going to start doing a better job of seeing more foreign language films, the other thing I'm going to see is more documentaries. Yeah. And I've been seeing some documentaries. I always see, Citizen 4, Man on Wire, the O.J. Simpson. I've been trying to watch. Last year there was some really good documentaries, but as a kid, when I was growing up, my favorite sport was basketball. I'm a fan of the Boston Celtics, and Larry Bird was my favorite basketball player of all time. And I emulated Larry Bird. I want to be a basketball player because it was the only sport I was allowed or could play as a kid. Mm-hmm. So I love this documentary called Dreams because, and I coach football, and I coached American football, not soccer, and basketball here in America for many, many, many years. And I see so many kids. I worked at a high school for 20 years, and I see so many young men and women growing up that are athletes, whether it be softball, baseball, basketball, football, whatever it is. And to see the aspirations of these children, these young men and women, and Hoop Dreams takes these 2 kids from Chicago, inner city Chicago, and it documents their career as a high school athletes, and then trying to get into college, and what the struggles and what the things that they have to go through with their family and their friends and the hanger-oners and I always talk about the pyramid of sports, where at the bottom of the pyramid everybody's playing sports, and they're playing football, and they're playing basketball and baseball, and in your country a big sport is soccer. All the little kids are growing up, they're playing soccer. You probably have your kids growing up playing soccer, but the older you get, that pyramid becomes narrower and narrower and narrower until you got the Michael Jordans at the top. And I've seen a few here in Florida, where I'm from. Vince Carter is just an amazing basketball player. I could not believe how he came from where he came from and he got where he got to in his career. And I've seen a bunch of baseball players. And I graduated with a guy by the name of Trey Thomas, who played 10 years for the Philadelphia Eagles. Oh, wow. And he won a national championship for Florida State. And he had one thing a lot of people didn't have, and his size. He was 6'8", but 365 pounds. Mm-hmm. And so he had the right body to play football for an offensive lineman, So, but Hoop Dreams really documents these two real life guys and trying to see what their careers could come. Could they get out of the inner city Chicago and become a basketball player or go off to college? And one of them goes to Marquette and has a good college career and then fizzles out, and then the other one doesn't do anything. And it just shows you how hard it is to be a great athlete, whether it's soccer or football or basketball or baseball or hockey or whatever it is. It's so difficult being the top of the top. You know what I mean? And I kind of resonate with Hoop Dreams a lot.
No, I have seen it a long time ago, admittedly, but I'm pretty sure I've seen it. Okay, brilliant. Moving on then. Name a film that you like that no one would expect.
Well, the thing is, I know maybe people would expect. I was thinking as soon as I put it on there, I said, maybe people would expect it because they know I love great films. But I'm a huge fan of westerns, and it's just such an odd film considering you look at the rest of the films and the actors and the people that I talked about. I haven't talked about any westerns.
Yeah.
But I am a huge fan of westerns, and when I saw this film, I was probably 17, 18, in my early upper teens, and I just was blown away how you could turn a western on its backside and turn the bad guy into the good guy and the good guy into the bad guy. Mm-hmm. With Little Bill was supposed to be the good guy. He's the sheriff of the town, and he's got his house with all the holes in it. He's trying to fill all the holes, and he ends up beating up Richard Harris, and then the bad guy, the guy William Money, who killed women and children and all, he was retired, and then he has to come back, and you flip it on its head. It just, I have never seen a western like it before, and I've never seen a western like it since, and I just think it's my number one favorite western of all time, and I think it really shows some great performances from Morgan Freeman, Clint Eastwood, Gene Hackman. It's an amazing film. Considering all the other films I talked about, and the actors and actresses,
there's no De Niro, there's no Pacino, it's not Scorsese. Where's this come from?
That's why it's kind of a surprise that I would mention it, because it just is. It's a genre that really hasn't got its due. We've been getting a few okay ones like 310 the Yuma remake, Magnificent Seven remake, True Grit remake.
Yeah.
They're making all these. They're not doing new ones, but people are trying to come up with new westerns. Yeah. I just don't think they're getting there where they used to get. And I think the last great western was Unforgiven.
Okay. Right. Going back to classic films then, what's your favourite classic?
Well, I already used Casablanca as my number one favorite movie of all time, so I don't want to use the same movie twice. I don't know, how do people use the same movie twice?
Not it's not happened before.
All right, so I didn't want to use the same movie twice, so I want to shed some light on another great film that it didn't win any Oscars.
Yep.
I believe. Say that again.
No. I was agreeing. I was agreeing with.
And I don't even think it got nominated for Oscars. I could be wrong, but this is where we go back to the story about Raging Bull. Well, after Time Magazine did the best film of the 80s, Raging Bull won the best film. It didn't even win the Oscar. Well, guess what? One of the greatest films of all time that never won any awards. I mean, Henry Fonda is unbelievable as juror number 8. And the cast, all the juror number 3 and juror number, they're just so amazing in this film. And it's Sidney Lumet, who Oh my God, Dog Day Afternoon,
Yeah.
The Verdict. I mean, you can go on and on. Sidney Lumet is another underrated, great filmmaker that you just don't hear a lot about.
Yeah.
So I wanted to share 12 Angry Men, and it probably, I mean, one of my another genre that I just love that you don't get a lot of great ones, but when a great one comes, it's like it resonates with you, and that's courtroom dramas.
Yeah.
And this one takes you into the jurors room, and you get to see, and then the claustrophobic nature of how hot it is on that day, and sweat, and how Henry Fonda's juror number 8 has to convince each and every one of those guys that maybe that the kid do it, and that they go over it and over it and over it. Oh God, it just, I was in a play as a kid of 12 Angry Men, and ever since then I love that film, and I watch it once or twice a year. Again, a film that I watch over and over, and you see little different things every time you watch it, because it's got so many moving parts and so much going on, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was. I've just looked it up on the phone. It was nominated for awards. It was nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Screenplay.
Okay.
Didn't win either of them. But yeah, I always remember I was late to the party with this. Obviously, the age that I was, it was out for quite a while before I was born anyway. But when I watched it VHS. I used to work at a record and video store called HMV. No longer, still in existence, just about. So I got staff discount there, so my collection went massive when I started working there. And I picked this one up and watched it, and yeah, what an amazing film! As you say, the reading about it afterwards is the juror room, as they're going along, was made progressively smaller, so you could get the claustrophobic feel of it even more, because they say they're getting cramped into this smaller and smaller room without telling you so. But it's an amazing film, and one that stands the test of time, because there's nothing else to it other than 12 men sitting in a room and being cajoled and persuaded, and a brilliant film. Great choice. Okay, film with the best soundtrack.
Well, John Williams is my favorite composer of all time. And I mean, I could pick Indiana Jones, I could pick Superman, I could pick Jurassic Park, I could pick Harry Potter, but you got to pick Star Wars, because that's the one that you could pick. Jaws, you could pick so many encounters from the third kind or whatever, but you got to pick Star Wars. So John Williams, Star Wars. I mean, God, when sports teams, they're using his music for, like, when the defense is out on the team and on the field in football, and they're dun 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 dun. That's from Empire, but still, all the different themes in Star Wars, it's just an amazing. That's one of the great things about Star Wars is the score, and John Williams is. See, I'm from Boston, and I grew up. One of the few things that I really enjoyed as a kid. I've spotlighted a couple things I enjoyed as a kid. We used to go to the place that was called the Esplanade. It was a giant park in Boston, and we got to go watch Pops Goes the Fourth, and that's the Boston Pops, which is the Boston kind of orchestra that goes around. Well, the conductor of the Boston Pops when I was a kid was John Williams.
Oh, wow.
And so you get to sit there in the park. You get there at 7 o'clock in the morning, a.m. time, for a 7 o'clock at night thing, and then fireworks afterwards. And to have that experience as a child is one of the few things in my life that I'll look back and say, wow, I'm glad I grew up in Boston. I got to experience that.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's absolutely the soundtrack of it. But John Williams as a talent himself, I mean, you name the best films of the last 50, 60 years, and all bar a few of them, John Williams will have his fingerprints all over it some way, shape or form. One of the things, obviously, living where I am, it's so jealous when you see over on the West Coast there the Williams night. Is it the Rose Bowl that they have the John Williams? I'd love to be able to get there and just sit in the audience of that just once. I love, as I've been said before, I love Star Wars, the film, the soundtrack behind it, and the score of it is so iconic. Absolutely amazing. Okay, moving on. Again, another one that's had, I think every single one has given a different answer so far. So what's your favourite franchise?
Well, I cheated. I chose one that has 19 films in it. I'm sorry. What was I supposed to do? Take something with 3 or 4?
No.
I went with the Whopper of all Whoppers. I went with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that's a franchise. Do you agree that's a franchise?
Oh, hell yeah. Absolutely. Without a shadow of a doubt. It's it's made by one studio. It's got an overriding story through the whole lot. There's characters dropping in and out same one. It is almost by definition still the franchise.
So I went with the Whopper of all Whoppers, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, what can you say about this? Kevin Feige, this guy, going back to one of my favorite movies, he's the godfather of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, and you see the mistakes that they made early on and how they fixed the mistakes, and they got better and better and better at each movie that came out, and now they just don't make bad at all.
No.
I mean, like Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 3 and Incredible Hulk and Thor: The Dark World, and they're not bad films.
No, they're not bad films. That's
awful films. They're good films, but when you're talking about 19 films, you have to rank them in some way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, Incredible Hulk's a good film. Thor: The Dark World's a good film. The worst, I would say Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 3 are arguably, there's good parts about both of them, but I think by the time they started making Captain America, Civil War, or The Winter Soldier, and Guardians, and so when they were making all that stuff, Ant-Man and Doctor Strange, they were really on a roll by that point, making good films.
As soon as you say they get Ant-Man, a one that outside of the comic book readers did not know, and you make that a hit, and you follow that up with Doctor Strange, again, someone that outside the comics no one heard, and you make that a hit. I mean, Black Panther was the second, the highest second weekend taking in America of all time. It's the second highest 3-4 day weekend or something like that film of all time. Again, you turn around and as people say, go and ask your mother-in-law. If your mother-in-law has heard of the character, then it's a well-known character. No one will have heard of Black Panther outside of fans of the comics, and he has absolutely nailed it. The 19 films, 10 years. There's not a categorically bad film. There are worse films.
Yeah.
And as you say, 19, you got to rank them. Yes, Iron Man 2, Thor: The Dark World will be bottom 1 or 2. I don't mind Iron Man 3 as a PTSD, a Marvelized PTSD story. Following on as it does obviously the death experience in Avengers, him suffering from that and that storyline of it's not an average Marvel film. It's a heavier and a more deeper thinking Marvel film. But again, it's a comic book movie, and we're talking about it's a heavier PTSD driven story. A great franchise. I've got them all up above me. I've got 6 shelves of DVDs behind me on there. I've got them all lined. I line them up in franchise or so I've got my Batman films, I've got my Godfather, Star Wars, and then I've got a whole shelf of MCU, just MCU on. I'm going to need to make some more room soon when the rest of them start coming out. But no, like I say, a fantastic. I can't argue with the choice. Okay, last question. It's a laugh. It's a jokey one. There's going to be a film of your life. Dan Skip Allen, the movie. Okay, who would you want to play you? And flipping that around, if there was going to be a casting director, who would they realistically cast as you?
Well, I always, growing up, because I'm from Boston, and I always looked at my life, and because he played a similar character in Good Will Hunting, Matt Damon, and so I thought, you know what, if they ever made a movie of my life, I always wanted Matt Damon, but maybe realistically, Casey Affleck could be a more realistic version of me than Matt Damon. Matt Damon's like, oh yeah, he's choosing Matt Damon. Well, I come from where Matt Damon came from.
Yep.
He comes from where I come from. We grew up in the same area and the same. We have the same fandoms of the Red Sox and the Patriots and the Celtics, and he's a film guy and I'm a film guy, and we're about the same age. And I think Matt Damon would be a good, but maybe Casey Affleck. He's another one that could have easily have played me, or they could have cast Casey Affleck as me. I know he wins an Oscar for Manchester. I'll pick an Oscar winners and whatever, but I mean, you're not going to pick some schlump. No. You know, you're going to pick somebody good, right?
Absolutely. Okie dokie. And we are done. Thank you once again to this week's guest, Dan. Dan, tell us some things. Plug some things. Plug your shows. Tell us about what you've got.
Well, you know, 3 episodes left of season 1 of the 52 must-see movies and why they matter. And starting in April, we're going to start on season 2. And I'm getting it started with a whopper with myself and Jeremy Adams doing The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2 to start the season off of season 2 of the 52 must-see movies. And I just, you know, you can always find me at Dan Skip Allen on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest. And I do some trivia a little bit here and there as well. So.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, just to remind you guys, we're on iTunes as well as Stitcher and Podbean, so please subscribe, rate and review. It really does help, so I get to know exactly how many people have actually got looking at me and listening to me each week. If you've got any comments or questions, or if you fancy being in the hot seat that Dan has so very ably filled this week, then you can email the podcast on thatmadeyourlist@outlook.com. Got our own Facebook page at That Made Your List, where you can find all the old episodes as well as a pinned post of the questions that's been asked. We have a Twitter feed of @thatmadeyour, exactly the same. I've been Dan Gullen. Where have I been? There you go. I nearly got through the entire show without cocking up or something. Right at the very last line. There it goes. I've been Dave Goodger. He's been Dan Skip Allen. This is That Made Your List. Thank you.